All right, all right, all right. Is the audio coming through now? Okay, it is coming through now. There we are. Okay, sweet. Oh boy, I need to get rid of that little doubleness right there. Hey there, ISO. Good to have you here. Say welcome, welcome, and welcome to everyone else who is here. Starting off with six people watching. Fantastic. Happy Friday evening to y'all. So, let's dive on into this right here. I don't know if this will be a particularly long stream tonight. It's been a rather busy day, and I still got writing I got to do. So we'll see what we all cover. But I do have some things to talk about, especially with Villainess Level 99, because holy cow, the episode this week was again just so on point. And I've read that stuff before. I read the material in the manga, and it was fine and everything, but the anime just really made it just land perfectly. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Also, if any of you have seen the How to Write Strong Women video and have some comments on it, or want to talk about strongly written characters, we'll definitely do that. And I also want to talk just a little bit about things that are coming up in the next month, since February is just around the corner. Sorry, Mr. Emrev, this is not just simply a premiere, it is indeed a live stream. Uh, I'm still checking, as I said last week, to see how feasible it is to do these every week, because it does eat up a bit of time to set things up, to get things ready for a live stream, and live streams can end up taking out quite a bit of time. And one of the things I've come to learn watching how other YouTubers go about doing this, either their lives are all just live streams, or they or their YouTube channels are just simply live streams. I think, like, for instance, like Mr. H, is almost mostly now just live streams. Midnight's Edge went to almost solely live streams for a little while. Same with Nux Taku went from long form videos completely on over to live streams. So it seems to be kind of the way that a lot of people are going. And I want to see how this goes, because I like having the instantaneous interaction with people here on YouTube, and not so much considering turning Camille's Harem into a constantly live stream type channel, because yeah, that's just not my life. I like being able to sit down and work on actual videos, and have my thoughts go out that way. I find that to be a whole lot more fun. So, with that being said, I do have the footage from Frieren Beyond Journey's End right now up. And one of the reasons why I have this up is because if you haven't yet sat down to watch this anime, do yourself a favor and please give it a watch. It is absolutely incredible. And I will be doing other videos on this. I've only done one so far, talking about why I personally feel like this hits so differently. And it's been great to see how other people have responded to this as well. And one of the things that I will say to all aspiring storytellers, this is something that you cannot replicate. And this is going to be frustrating to hear this, but you cannot replicate this in any kind of way. There's no formula. And what I'm talking about is that your story is able to resonate with people on a deep level. You can have a very deep, very personal, even a very philosophical or a very fantastical story, and yet it might not necessarily resonate with audiences. It's a little bit silly to say that, because you're like, wait a second, but it should absolutely work. But I'm sorry, that's just the way that it goes. I mean, one of my favorite authors, Brandon Sanderson, I love the books that he's written. I do. I've got so many of them. In fact, I just right now turn over to my left. I mean, if I even had a camera and you guys could see me face on, you wouldn't be able to see us right here. But I've got his books right next to me. I love reading the works of Brandon Sanderson. I will say this, however, there's only a handful of his stories that have truly resonated with me, where it's just like it hits deep. The third Mistborn book just brings me to tears each time I read it, especially at the end, because it's such a beautiful ending. And the Dog and the Dragon is probably one of the best fairy tales written of all time. And some people might be all like, well, what, like, oh, come on, Lars, what about like the grim fairy tales, like the true classics? You read The Dog and the Dragon, and if you don't come away crying after reading that, you have no heart. You have no soul. Frieren is such an interesting story, because as much as like I've already analyzed and other people try to analyze it, there's something about this kind of tale of this timeless elf going on a journey, coming to realize just how much life really means. Like what she says, what's a mere 10 years? And the answer is, as I said in one of my videos, the answer is it's everything. Every day is a treasure. Every day is a gift. But oddly enough, other people have commented on what I said and said that message didn't resonate with them. However, Frieren's sense of loss with Himmel's death really resonated with them. For other people, it's how Frieren just feels so outside of the regular flow of things. And they said that they really felt that because there's a lot of people who want to connect with the others in their lives. They want to be able to connect with the normal world, and for whatever reason in their own personal lives, they're just not able to necessarily connect. And so they look at Frieren and they're all like, I completely identify with that. Despite the fact that she's this all-powerful immortal elf, I can identify with an aspect of Frieren and her journey. And so I think that anyone who's aspiring to write a story that resonates with others, the only thing I could say is don't aspire to write a story that will resonate. Instead, aspire to write a great story, one that you love, with characters that you love, that you draw out their depth, their personality. You do fun things with them. You put them on some sort of adventure. It doesn't have to be fantasy. It could be a murder mystery. It could be a dramatic romance, or whatever, cyberpunk, whatever it is so long as you write a story that you yourself love with characters that you love and you explore their depth and really bring that out, then your story can resonate with audiences. Or maybe it doesn't. This is a story that could very easily have just flown under the radar for so many people and no one would ever pick it on up. It's odd enough to say, you just can't replicate it. As ISO says right here, I like that though. It should be replicated. Every story should be unique, or it should not be replicated. Every story should be unique, and I agree. There's beauty in truly unique stories, and I think that that's something that we need to talk more about within the creative community, especially with Hollywood looming over everyone, and publishers as well. If you want to get your books published, looming over everyone, they're always looking for the formulaic, this makes sense because this succeeded once upon a time, and so we should try this on out. For instance, anyone who's watching and seeing how well Frieren is connecting with people, and they're like, wow, this is such a great story, and so many people love it. The sad fact of the matter is that within a year or within the next year to 3 years, there's going to be a ton of people trying to knock off specifically Frieren Beyond Journey's End, and most of them will fail because they don't fully understand what it is that they're dealing with here, or understand that just sometimes a story just comes around and truly resonates with people. And again, coming back to what I was saying with Brandon Sanderson, I love Sanderson's works. I have most of his books, but there's only a handful of them that really resonate with me. Even though there are some books, for instance, that are written even better than Mistborn Book 3, the Hero of Ages. There's some of his books are just better than the Hero of Ages, but the Hero of Ages just, it hits so dang hard. It has such a beautiful ending, such a bittersweet ending. And oh my gosh, and I love it. So there's the vagueness, I guess, out of the way right there. The philosophical thoughts on writing from Lars, the philosophical thoughts on anime from Lars. I'm also seeing a lot of people talking about how Beyond Journey's End is a masterpiece. I will have stuff to say about that when we get to the end of the season, because man, calling something a masterpiece is high praise, and it's something that I feel like if a story deserves it, it absolutely deserves it. But there's a little bit more to a masterpiece than just in the moment how well a story resonates with us. So we'll see where that goes. And I kind of quickly want to bring this right on over here. So last week, to open up the live stream, I talked about some of the stuff that people were saying with Has Been Hotel, and how I've recently been watching stuff from WDW Pro where they were just kind of going off on Has Been Hotel, and I was like, at least watch it, for crying out loud. Like, know your story. I was very happy to see that one of their contributors, CC Karaoke, came on and was like, hey, what if we actually had a real debate talking about Has Been Hotel? And so they came back together. I actually listened to their live stream where they did do a debate. I thought a very respectful debate about the merits and the drawbacks of Has Been Hotel. One of the things, though, that became very apparent was that only one person, and that being CC Karaoke, had actually watched it. And so as far as like commenting on the story goes, only one person could say anything. No one else could either support or go against. As a result, the debates really fell short, and you could tell that a lot of people in the debate were not pleased with the fact that an irreverent cartoon series was number 2 at the time on Amazon, and I think by now it's actually streaming as number 1 on Amazon Prime. And they're like, this makes no sense. Why is a cartoon doing so well? To which I just say, yeah, a lot of people, a lot of critics, reviewers, and social media and entertainment media pundits are shocked that a cartoon could be popular. Oh boy. So I don't know what more to say on that. So coming back to you, exactly. To be fair, Frieren reminds me of To Your Eternity. However, they are different enough to be separate and unique stories that each have their own charms. Exactly. I actually have not seen To Your Eternity beyond the first season, so I know I'm behind. Nathan has actually kept up with it. It's one of his favorite stories, and he definitely has a whole lot to say. He absolutely loves the series, and it both do have a very interesting bittersweet melancholy to them, where you have characters who are just living through eternity, and how do they cope with that? How does that form their personalities? What kinds of relationships can you have with people who are not immortal? And again, I'm someone who I definitely subscribe to what Tolkien wrote when it came to elves, where for him, even though the elves are immortal and they will far outlast the humans and the dwarves and the hobbits and everyone else like that, they still retained the memory of all of these people, and they had very strong relationships with all of the mortal creatures of Middle Earth, and they loved them and respected them in their own way. Still, being immortal does set them apart, but for me, it always was like, why should being immortal make it impossible for you to really connect with people? Which is why Frieren and To Your Eternity are good stories to explore the opposites, which for me, that's something new. And so I like being able to see that. From Himan, I'm so sorry. Himan Bob. To Your Eternity makes me cry. Frieren makes me vibe. Very nice. Very nice. But last thing that I do want to say as far as the Has Been Hotel goes before moving on to the next subject is this. I've held off on doing anything with Has Been Hotel because, much like what I did with the video talking about how Glitch Productions had basically wrecked Disney last year, which they did. They absolutely did. And the thing is this, a lot of people tried to downplay it, saying, well, Disney wrecked themselves. And of course, everyone was beating Disney last year, which is true. However, they weren't paying attention to realize that, like what we're seeing right here with Has Been Hotel, there's a lot of people who really want to see good animated stories. And you don't even have to necessarily like Has Been Hotel to realize that a lot of people are vibing with it. A lot of people do like it. And there's some people who don't like Has Been Hotel who love Lackadaisy, or who love Murder Drones, or who love the amazing Digital Circus. And what we're seeing is that tens of millions, at this point really actually hundreds of millions of people are interacting with these animated shows and are giving them support more so than to a company like Disney. That is bonkers. It is insane. And I think it's actually a really good thing. And for so many people that I've actually tried to get in touch with, who have way more access to like actual people within the entertainment industry, who know people, who have contacts, who've even worked on sets and everything. And I've been trying to be all like, hey, like, what do you guys think about this? Like, these people are up and coming. There's a real cultural shift. And they're like, no, it isn't happening. And the moment that Has Been Hotel suddenly begins to do very well on Amazon, they are trying to come up with every excuse under the sun to discredit this show. And so I'm going to wait until this first season is completely run its course, and then I'm going to do a review, not just kind of in this on the story. Like, I really want to see how the story's evolved from independent concept under Visipop to A24 Productions, because there is a change. There's been a very vast change, but also to see how it has been received and compare that to the booming success of the amazing Digital Circus under Glitch, which has just exploded, as well as compare it to a smaller yet still substantial success like Lackadaisy. So that's some stuff for in the future. And let's see here, popping on back here to Frieren for a little bit. Hey, Roblox, welcome. No worries about being late. You kind of missed me vaguely pontificating about what makes Frieren Beyond Journey's End such an amazing banger, and rehashing a little bit about Has Been Hotel. As a quick thing about like what I'm thinking about, just and not just in terms of later on doing a Has Been Hotel review and analysis and looking at its impact in the industry and culturally. In February, each year I've tried to like have like a mini series of sorts focusing on romance, writing romance, because romance is hard. romance is hard in real life. Writing romance is also hard. It's just the way that it goes. And for anyone who's like, romance is easy, I'm like, yeah, I want you to write romance. And it's like, it's not even me trying to be mean. It's just like, go ahead, write romance, and you'll see what I'm saying. And just, I watch so many people crumble, and they're like, oh, this is hard. Yeah, writing romance is hard. And I'm not even going to claim to be a master at it myself. Most of my stories are more action-based rather than romance. But for this year, I am tackling something that I've wanted to talk about for a while, and that is toxic relationships in fiction and how those are portrayed and executed. What can we learn from them? What are the do's? What are the don'ts? And so forth. And to your little comment right there, Roblox, I am going to do a video on N and V, their romance as what we see in Murder Drones, which I know the ship that seems to be sailing right now is Newsy, N and Uzi, but I'm going to stand by what I've said before. No ship is safe. All ships could sink before the show is done. But also, N and V's relationship is in many ways the toxic one. It is tragic, and there's some beauty to its tragedy. But one of the reasons why it's tragic is because something that started off as like so precious with a truly great meet cute. I mean, they even have a literal spark when their fingers touch the first time that they meet. Even though you have all of that, and episode 5 is just a phenomenal episode of looking back at their relationship, which is just so precious. There's tragedy to it, there's toxicity to it, and I definitely want to dive into that and explore it in a video. So that's going to be one of the videos that I do. I'll be doing another video exploring why we like toxic relationships in our fiction so much. It is absolutely true. And the crazy thing is that most people, 99.9% of the human population, will say toxic relationships are awful and no one should be in one, including abusers. They will say that. And yet, the moment that we can get a book that has a toxic relationship, or watch a show with a toxic relationship, or read a manga or a comic with one, people are like, oh, yes. And there's even a subculture that actively seeks to find healthy relationships in fiction and transform them into something toxic and awful. So for this upcoming February, I am going to be exploring toxic relationships. So buckle up for those, because it's going to be crazy. Right there. Roblox, N dies, the end. Oh, that would be sad, because N is the heart and soul of Murder Drones. But yeah, I could see him dying at this point. And there's no one who is safe whatsoever. So yeah, there's that. All right. So those are my thoughts right there about Frieren Has-Been Hotel. Little announcement for stuff in the future. Let's get to what's there on the thumbnail, on the video's thumbnail, which is Villainess Level 99. Oh yeah. So last week I talked about how Yumilia, the main character, has an amazing girl boss moment in the second episode, where she just finally, after the 3 heroes, quote unquote heroes, of the game into which she's been isekai'd into, they start bullying her. She finally just snaps, has enough of it, and creates a magical black hole just to prove to everyone, yes, I am indeed level 99. Please back off. And it's such a great girl boss moment because it is absolutely earned. And not just because, she went through all of the effort of grinding in dungeons in order to bring up her level up to level 99, but because it actually falls in line with her character. She knows that she is the reincarnated villainess of this game, and if she's not careful, the heroes are supposed to kill her. And so she's been trying to do everything that she can to avoid getting killed. But then finally, when it's revealed their level is 99, the three heroes show up and begin doubting her, teasing her, bullying her, and really want to take her down a peg because they think that she's just flaunting her power. And it's like, oh boy, what there's a lot of projection going on the part of these guys. But so for the first guy with his big sword, she tries to put him down gently and be all like, yeah, I'm actually not going to like break your bones or anything with this wooden sword, even though you threatened to break my bones. I'm just going to beat you and show that you're a wimp. Which she does, and then the other guy's like, I don't believe that you're level 99. Your magic can't be as good as mine, and challenges her to a magical standoff, which she wins, and she hopes to just kind of end it all by just showing, hey, look, I can do this incredible spell that no one else can. Can we just call it a day and say that we're good? And then he runs off saying, I will never forgive you for this. And she's like, oh no, I'm all done. And then the prince comes and is like, you obviously are a liar, despite the fact that there's evidence right in front of everyone that she can do a high level spell. And the principal, who's an absolute jerk, which, yes, I've known jerk principals in my time. They're never any fun to work with. Even when you're a teacher and you have to deal with a jerk principal, it's basically the same as being a student and having to deal with a jerk principal. It's never any fun. In any case, in any case, the principal and the prince, the last hero, gang up on her, and they're all like, well, anyone from the royal court could have done this. It doesn't prove you're level 99. You have to do something immediately right now, otherwise we're going to kick you out of the school, and you're going to be exiled from the kingdom as a disgrace and a liar. So she's like, fine, black hole, and freaks everyone out. From Roblox, I've heard the anime was good, but I've never heard anything about it. This is an excellent story. It really is. It's cute. It's funny. It is laugh out loud funny. It's definitely also a slower one. This one is not going to gain any sort of recognition. In fact, it was kind of hard to find good footage to use for this particular role right here because not a whole lot of people are watching it. Because it's not super flashy, it's not going to immediately grab anyone's attention, which is a real shame, especially because in this week's episode, we get yet another girl boss moment from Emilia. Kitty, sorry guys, my cat is coming to attack my microphone. Why are you here? I know why you're here. You want attention, you lovable walking brownie. Come on, get down. Oh no, here she comes. Honey. Oh well, moving on. Yeah, down with you, honey. I love black holes so much. They're just so cool. Black holes are cool. They are things that are literally so heavy that they weigh down reality itself as we know it. They could be portals to other universes, to other timelines, or they could just be crushing masses that destroy everything. And I love how, this is just a little side note right here. I remember when I was studying astronomy back in college, I was so close. I was literally this close, like a hair's breadth close to declaring astronomy as a minor. I was already double majoring in history and German at the University of Arizona, and I was so close to minoring in astronomy as well because I love astronomy. But I was just like, no, I don't have the time. I don't want to spend a fifth year at the university. But I remember a professor talking about how they had observed streams of light, energy, and matter coming off of the north and south poles of black holes. And he was just like, yeah, it's just an optical illusion because there's no way that anything can escape a black hole, not even light, and nothing can go faster than the speed of light. Therefore, it's just an optical illusion. And yet we are now learning that indeed black holes emit stuff from their poles. And it's like, why? Aren't these things supposed to just consume the universe? Black holes are weird. Black holes are incredible. And it's because of black holes that our Milky Way galaxy even exists. Yeah, go figure on that. So yeah, black holes are absolutely incredible structures, and just bend people's minds. Uh, Black holes just convert 3 stuff to duty stuff at the event horizon. They crush things, and yet black holes, again, because black holes literally weigh down reality. They warp reality. We have the math to show that that the rules no longer apply to them, and the fact that they can emit energy and matter that shoots out of them faster than the speed of light breaks all the rules, and yet it is real. So it's just, oh, black holes are crazy. So maybe if you do have the magic to create a black hole, I wouldn't actually try doing it, just because it would technically destroy everything. The story potential of a black holes is actually amazing. I do agree. In the future, there should be a show about throwing stuff into black holes. I think that there is one, actually, or maybe I'm just getting that mixed up with a side story from the game Destiny. There's actually a really, really cool moment in the game Destiny, which unfortunately you can't actually play through, but it's in the lore, and it's a full out story that you have one of the major villains setting up her entire like floating castle right there on the event horizon. And one of the reasons why she's there at the event horizon is because, again, black holes just break all the rules, and as a god of mischief, she gets tribute and power from things that break the rules. And since a black hole breaks all the rules, she's by living on the event horizon of a black hole, it just increases her godly power. I'm like, that's actually really cool. That's some cool logic right there. But yeah, so in any case, moving on, Yumilia, by summoning a magical black hole at school, quickly gains the notice of the royal court. And that was this week's episode. And what I loved about this right here, even though I've read this material in the manga already, I think that the anime delivered it very well, with a very deliberate conversation between Yumilia and the monarchs, the king and the queen, about her situation, what kinds of powers that she has, and they're all like, we want you to be a part of the kingdom. And so they are very calm with like, oh, we're so sorry. Like they admit out loud, we are sorry for what our son has done to you, trying to get rid of you. We'll make sure that our people are in the school to make sure that this doesn't happen anymore. Light spoiler: they fire the principal and put a soldier in as the new principal of the school, so that way they can keep an eye on Yumilia and make sure that she stays around. Because since she is level 99, according to their chief captain of the guard, they're like, this girl is an absolutely powerful asset. We need to make sure that we can keep her in our good graces, that we stay in her good graces. So we're going to make sure that she continues to go to school, that she's taken care of, and we're going to keep all of the other royal families, all the other noble families off of her back, so that way they're not trying to force her into any sort of marriage. But they warn her, there are going to be people who are going to try to marry you for your power, so they can basically wield you as a weapon, which is then where the next girl boss moment, very well earned girl boss moment, comes out in this series, when a son of one of the rival factions at court tries to court her, and the guy's this guy's an obvious idiot. He's actually, no one should ever try to flirt with someone else the way that he tries to flirt with Yumilia. Don't do it. You're going to come off as a creep, and if you get slapped, you deserve it. But so he's trying to flirt with her. He's obviously failing. So then he tries to appeal to any sort of lust for power that she might have. And he tries to say, like, oh, think about all the things you'll be able to do, the great power that you will have at the very apex of the country as my queen, if you were to help me, and we will conquer other kingdoms and subjugate them, and yada yada yada. And the girl boss moment that she delivers is great, because she doesn't actually need to smack him down. at least not physically. And that is something that too many writers have forgotten really how to do. And the way that she smacks him down is she takes everything that he's saying and flips it on its head. She starts word playing him and shows that you think you're smart, you think that you're in control of the situation. You're not. I'm in control of the situation right here, and I reject your marriage proposal. In fact, I reject you because you're a bumbling idiot who just wants to go to war and thinks that I would be a perfect wife weapon to use against others. And it works so dang well. And this is why when people say that they don't like girl boss moments, I'm like, I can understand why. That's because most girl boss moments are really, really poorly handled, where the girl just simply starts casting magic, throws an epic punch, says something snarky, and with that one punch, that one magical spell, or that one snarky comment, absolutely destroys the other person, usually a stupid guy. And then everyone's like, "Oh, you're so amazing! You're so great! We just love you." That's a lazy girl boss moment. A good girl boss moment is like what we see here in Villainous Level 99, where in order to have that epic moment, the character is established, her abilities or powers are firmly established, and then the story helps to set up that scenario. It builds up to it rather than just simply serving it on a silver platter. And what's more is that usually those girl boss moments, especially if done right, have some sort of consequence to them. The girl just can't simply lickety split skip away and be all like, I did my amazing thing, I beat the dumb guy, and the light and the world is now perfect and everyone loves me for it. There are always going to be consequences for your actions, and even sometimes when you think that you're doing something amazing or something good or putting a guy into this place, it can have negative consequences. So the girl must then have to deal with the fallout of being a girl boss, which is what you get to see in Villainous Level 99. And again, that's why I think it's just so well done. Girl boss moments done right. From ISO, Captain Marvel's I don't have to do anything to prove to you really disappointed me. I felt so let down. I agree. I like in the first Captain Marvel movie, I really wanted to see Carol Danvers have a moment where it's like, yeah, sure, her powers are being suppressed. She has to realize you are suppressing my powers. I am amazing. But she has to, there needs to be a little bit more in order to gain that. She should have been thinking things through. And yes, someone could argue that the second Captain Marvel movie or the Marvels follows up with that her actions ended up leading to the destruction of an entire civilization, which is actually an interesting plot thread to go down, except that when you step back and think about what you saw in the Marvels, it's like, wait a second here. So she could have actually fixed everyone's problems by reigniting their sun and just simply stop killing people and force everyone to talk like what she does. And it would have been so easy to fix everything. And she's able to do it all lickety split because she's so amazing. Why did it take so long? Why do we even bother with all of this stuff? Where are the consequences? Where are the real consequences for the actions that she's taken? I believe that OP characters should have consequences for the decisions, and that you should show how even if you have phenomenal cosmic powers, even like the genie, that doesn't mean that there aren't negative things that happen as a result. It's one of the beautiful messages of Aladdin, that even though Aladdin has access to these three all-powerful wishes, you can still make the wrong choices with those wishes, and you can still end up hurting the people that you love, which is what Aladdin does. And then Jafar, he has all the power in the universe, and then he gets trapped in a lamp because he didn't think through what he was actually doing with these almighty wishes. So that's something that I love about what you can do with OP powers, and that plays again into girl boss moments. You can have an absolutely OP girl, but still give her consequences to her choices. Give her a challenge. Make it where that she has to earn that moment, even if she's OP, and then people will like it. For Miso again, it's like this is your only real challenge in the entire movie. Just fight the guy. Bingo. Exactly. Oh, I'm going to take a drink of water. There we go. Yeah. Oh boy. And that's honestly a conversation that I want to have. I actually want to do at some point in the future. I actually want to do a debate where someone uh comes to, like, someone's like, okay, Lars, you have written the Legend of the Ten Lords series. At least you've got 3 books out right now. Your characters in this book are all OP because their magic is imagination. Whatever they can imagine can basically happen. And so they're OP. How are they challenged? And actually have that pushback and generate a debate, because OP characters can be really interesting, really engaging if done right. And there are ways to do it right. And I feel like I've got the secret sauce for that. Coming to Roblox, V from the Arcane series literally defies her nation like a week after she got out of jail to challenge the underground government in the nation. Well, good for her. It's what all of us should do once we're released from prison. Go and defy the nation. From Rubens, a little fun fact that has nothing to do with the matter. If you bend a piece of paper of 0.04 millimeters thickness over 103 times, you will have a paper thicker than the diameter of the observable universe, 93 bi. I did not know that fact. Thanks for sharing, Rubens. Devin, I can't wait for the finale of the Has-Been Hotel next week. I am actually kind of shocked that they are releasing the Has-Been Hotel so quickly. I'm a little disappointed in that, but that's just me. I believe that if you're willing to stretch out your show for a proper length of time, that people are going to be far more willing to stick around and watch. Like, for instance, if Stranger Things were to be released episode for episode on Netflix, I guarantee that Netflix would be doing so well for that season, because you would have so many people sitting down to watch each episode and then be hungry for the next episode the next week. Sure, there are people now who are so used to binging shows that they would miss that. But seriously, for the vast majority of humanity, having to deal with listening to stories either told verbally in a book series or on the radio or on television, they had to wait for every installment. That is the natural order of things. You're not going to lose that much of the audience if you pace things out. So yeah. Yeah, I believe that a show does well when they spread out their episodes. I think that that's totally fine to do. From Roblox, we're there is every 2 weeks, but since they released the first to people who wait, they started with 4. Yeah, and to the credit for Has Been, Visipop, and A24, I think another thing is that people have been waiting for so long for Has Been Hotel to drop. And I do believe, I might be wrong in this, but I do believe that there was an issue with production where they had to kind of kick it back a little bit, where it was supposed to be released earlier, but then it wasn't. And of course, they're not going to say exactly what the issue was, but that Has Been Hotel ended up taking longer to produce than was intended. And so to kind of make it up for all the people who've been waiting so eagerly and so long and are just hungry for the next episode of Has Been Hotel, they just dropped a ton of episodes all in one go. So that way a lot of people would come and watch. Amazon probably also liked it because it would then be a chance for them to really boost up the views, not only the viewing numbers, but the view times for their new show, which again plays to Has-Been's credit because it has done well, and they can show just how overwhelmingly they have done with their first few episodes. Sorry, I botched the spelling. I meant to say people who paid for the first 2. Okay, I understand that. But yeah, so so there's that. But coming back to Villainous Level 99, excellent girl boss moments. Highly, highly recommend this anime, and I'm excited to see where we go next. I wish I had Scott on for this because he's read way further ahead in the manga than I have, and it's teased in the opening and in the ending credits, I believe, that there's a dragon coming up, and this dragon is just so cute and so deadly. kind of like Toothless, which I think that we need more of. We need more of cute, deadly dragons in fiction. And because I feel like doing this. If you like dragons, hey, I wrote a book called Tumble-Teller about a dragon bard who goes on her very first adventure solo to perform for another for another dragon who happens to be throwing a birthday party. It's all great. It's fantastic. It's whimsical. It's funny until the assassins show up. There's the twist. If you want to know more, you got to read the book. I'll put that here into the comments. Tumble-Teller. shameless self-promotion on my part. Bad, Lars, bad. All right. So those were my thoughts for Villainous Level 99. This week's been busy. I haven't been able to actually keep up with all of the anime that I wanted to. So I haven't yet watched the newest episode of The Witch and the Beast or for Delicious in Dungeon. I will say this, though. I am intending, this will be kind of spoofy, but I am intending to do a D&D oriented video based on Delicious in Dungeon, nur auf Deutsch. Because I've been watching it all in German, and the German dub is hilarious. It's also really interesting how the German dub changes some of the stuff that is at least in the English translation, and I don't know how accurate it actually is to the original Japanese intent. So that's a little bit interesting to see translations how it shifts stuff. But the German dub for Delicious in Dungeon is absolutely hilarious. And I'm happy I know German well enough that I can just sit down and listen to it. I'm like, I know what's happening. And I can actually get all the jokes. Or at least most of them. So, I think to start taking us here towards the end, because I've said what I wanted to as far as the anime stuff goes, let me bring up right here the footage, some of the background footage that was in the latest video that we posted, which is about writing strong women. And if you guys have seen it yet, or you have any questions about like strong female characters within fiction or how to do it, quickly take a moment and start putting some of that stuff there into the chat, and we will have a conversation. From Roblox, I wish I could speak or at least understand German. Ja, die deutsche Sprache ist eine sehr schöne Sprache. Muss ich eigentlich sagen. Und das ist nicht nur meiner Meinung nach. Andere Leute haben auch gesagt, dass die deutsche Sprache die echte himmlische Sprache ist. Und ich muss zustimmen. Aber ich muss auch sagen, dass es schon lange her, dass ich plötzlich reingesetzt habe und nur einfach auf Deutsch geredet habe. Und das ist meine Fehler, weil ich auch deutsche Familie habe. Meine Mutti ist Deutsche und mein Vater kann Deutsch perfekt. Roblox, you asked if I subscribed. No, I've been talking about how amazing the German language is, how people say it's the heavenly language. And I must agree, but it's been a while since I've actually just sat down and just spoken German. Which is a bit of a shame because my dad speaks perfect German and my mother is German. So I have opportunities to actually carry on conversations in German with other people. I just don't do it as often as I should. And so, ja, ich muss sagen, dass ich zu vieles verlernt habe. I've forgotten too much. My vocabulary has shrunk. My working vocabulary, my spoken vocabulary has definitely shrunk, and I sometimes get the grammar very wrong, which is very embarrassing because I can even hear it. My German is good enough that I can hear when I'm making mistakes, and yet I still make mistakes. But that's what happens. If you learn how to speak another language, make sure you're constantly using it in whatever way that you can, trying to improve it, because eventually it just you slowly over time lose it. A lot of the people that I went to Germany with, a lot of them have long since forgotten how to speak German, and it's kind of sad because I'm like, hey, I want to speak with you, and then and then they're like, ich kann nicht Deutsch. I'm like, hey, at least you know not to say ich kann Deutsch nicht sprechen, because that's just lame and pathetic. You at least know. And here's a little fun fact as far as like wanting to actually sound like you know what you're talking about when you speak German. You never say to another German, ich kann Deutsch sprechen. So a lot of people say like, oh, I can speak German, ich kann Deutsch sprechen. No, if you really want to impress a German, you say ich kann Deutsch. And the reason for that is because the verb können can also mean not just simply can, but it also carries with it a certain connotation depending on the sentence. Not just simply that I can, but that I have mastered. I actually can use German. And so when you say ich kann Deutsch, you're saying I know the German language, not just simply I can speak German. You're telling the person I know the German language. So if you tell another German ich kann Deutsch, they're going to take you up on that, and they're just going to start blabbing away at you in German. They might even switch to dialect. And at which point, if you don't actually know how to speak German or understand it, there's no hope for you at that point. So don't say ich kann Deutsch to someone unless you actually do know how to speak German. For Roblox, not going to lie, my English is bad. You are trying Roblox, and that is fantastic, and that's what counts. I think that we can forgive anyone who doesn't know inherently our own native tongue. Like I am happy that a lot of Germans didn't harp on me for my awful German when I first moved over to to Germany, and when I went and visited Japan, the Japanese were very patient with my awful Japanese. So we are absolutely okay with that. From Mr. Amiriv, no T believe you. You don't believe me? Oh, that's okay. That's okay. Or are you saying that you don't believe Roblox? Because yeah, Roblox does actually a pretty good job with their with their English. No habla español. And what is it for you, Roblox? What is your native tongue? But yeah, while waiting for Roblox's response to my question, any of you have any questions as far as like writing strong female characters go? I did have one person in the comments kind of be like, well, if you wrote a character who like you wrote a female character who's very buff, they're all like, she's probably a little bit insecure, and I'm like, not really. In the book that I wrote, Bleed, Steam, and Steel, where I've got one of my main characters, Asuka, she is a very large, imposing girl, and I didn't just simply write her that way because I'm like, ooh, I love muscle girls, which I do. But for me, writing a physically strong character, I wanted to at the time write a character that kind of stuck it to Hollywood, where I'm like, it is possible to have a larger, more muscular girl be the protagonist. When I was in high school, a girl that I had a crush on, maybe she she's the one to actually set me down the path of liking muscle girls. She was, I think, 6'3", which is almost a full foot taller than me. And she played basketball, and she also did a lot of weightlifting, and now she also works on trucks and cars. And so she is a very imposing, very muscular girl, and that was awesome. That's awesome. And I wanted to write a character who kind of reminded me a bit of her. And some of you might already be wondering, like, so why didn't it work out, Lars? You had a crush on her. Fun fact: I took her to the prom. Other fun fact: she came out as lesbian afterwards. So. I may did I have a certain effect? I don't know, but that's just the story. From Roblox, English is my native, though I have been trying to learn Espanol since it's very common where I live. Hey, Roblox, excellent. Try to keep up at it. I live almost on the border of the USA and of Mexico. And I have tried learning Spanish. I've honestly tried. I've even had a Colombian roommate, and I got to hear lots of Spanish. I even began picking up a little bit of it, but for whatever reason, I have just never been able to. The Spanish language just never clicked with me. German, on the other hand, clicked very easily, and maybe that's because of my upbringing. But yeah, there we go. I'm not even 6 foot. Don't worry, most people aren't. Or at least I should say, of my particular generation, the people I grew up with, it was rare to have someone reach 6 foot, or at least most people didn't reach that high. When I was teaching when I was teaching high school, so many kids were at least half a foot to a foot taller than me. I'm like, oh boy, what Wheaties have you guys been eating? Ruins, I speak Portuguese, English, Spanish, and lucky me, I live next to a German colony from 1825. So yeah, let's not forget all of the Germans who are in Brazil. And I actually got to meet a lot of people from South America. Lots of people from Brazil go on over to Germany, either to work there or usually because they married a German. Are you from the state of Bucky's? No, I am from the state of Wayward Cowboys, Arizona. Ruins, 1.75 meters. What? I don't understand that. I'm American. Rubens, that probably puts you and me at roughly about the same height. I know enough about meters that I can line it up about rightish. Mr. Emeriv from Argentina. Hey, awesome having you here from Argentina and joining us. So I would say something cool in Spanish, but like I said, I just have never been able to really learn Spanish. Friends of mine have been down to Argentina, and I don't. And maybe you can confirm this. Maybe you confirm this for me, Mr. Emeriv. They said that in Argentina, the Spanish that's spoken down there, for instance, would be different in various ways. For instance, to like Peruvian or Colombian Spanish. And is that something that actually like is the case where like certain words are different or where the grammar is different? That's just what I've heard. I don't know. I can't speak for myself. So that's why I'm asking. It ruins what the hell is a kilometer? Yes, in America, what is a kilometer? Actually, where I live, because we're so close to the Mexican border, when you cross into a certain part of the city, everything starts switching over into kilometers, and you see way more Spanish than you see English. Totally fine with it, and that's actually kind of how I've kind of have had to learn what a kilometer actually is. But yeah, most Americans, what's a kilometer? What is this weirdness? From Emeriv, it's closer to Italian. Ooh, that's interesting. I did not know that. Roblox, I was thinking the same thing, Rubens. Karim Bagdan, true. Yep, all true. we Americans in our absolute stupidity when it comes to the metric system. Pretty sure it's correct. It happens in Brazil. In the north, east, southeast, and south all have different words that don't even exist in the other Portuguese. Things we say. We don't know about Brazil. Yeah. Brazilian Portuguese, Portuguese, two different things. I've actually, oh my gosh, I love listening to different Spanish speakers try to speak with people who speak Portuguese. It's so much fun. And then also having people like suddenly turn, they're speaking Spanish, but then they look at each other like, you learned Spanish someplace else, didn't you? Yeah, I learned Spanish down in the Yucatan. I learned my Spanish down in Ecuador. Oh, that makes sense now. From Mr. Everett, they say Italians can understand Argentino pretty well. You know, I know someone who can speak Italian. I will go and I will be like, okay, I need you to help me out with something right here. We're gonna go down to Argentina. I want to see how much you understand. Rubens, but we know what's going on at the other side of the planet, LOL, and weirdly enough, Spanish people start speaking. We understand everything, but they have no idea what we're saying when it's our turn. Yep, again, I've seen this for myself. My very first job was at the University of Arizona. I worked at the university bookstore, and during rush, where new people are coming into the school, and we have to hire on so many more people in order to accommodate the massive influx of students. We'd have a lot of Mexican speakers, and we also have Portuguese speakers coming on in. My brother-in-law was there, and he could speak Portuguese and Spanish, so he could speak with really everyone there on the line. But then when he started speaking Portuguese to another one of the workers, all of the Spanish speakers were like, "What? What is this language?" From Roblox, fun fact, the British invented the imperial system, hence the name, so Americans adopted it. But after the British changed they started to call us Americans stupid. I mean, like, damn, it was your idea. Yes, England, the British, very, very different over there. They also drive on the wrong side of the road. I went with my sister to Scotland to help to kind of be there to help her out because she did not want to drive on the other side, on the wrong side of the road, and so I was her chauffeur through Scotland, which Scotland is beautiful, really nice people, and it was a fun adventure. But I will never again drive in London. We went down to London, and I hated every minute of driving in London. Why they drive on that side of the road and why they make their streets so insane, I don't know. I really don't know. World War II should have given you guys a clean slate. In Germany, they actually rebuilt some of the cities with better oriented streets. Come on, guys. Yeah, Britain kind of decided to push everything, then changed and call everyone weird. From Emeriv, there are those who use metric and those who put a man on the moon using metric. Nice. Fun fact about Brazil: when Darwin visited us, he began a massive crisis in Salvador because 100% not exploited forced labor, which he hated. Basically, the emperor had to go there personally. Oh boy. Say. I'm just going to say this. Most American kids do not understand the rich history, culture, and craziness that is down in South America. Like, there's so much about South America that kids just here in the States don't understand. And it's kind of a shame. Like, and I'm saying this as someone who should know more. I remember doing research projects and whatnot on Colombia, learning about Brazil, in college, really learning more about Mexico, going down to Venezuela, and just being like, holy cow, there's so much. Why don't we learn more about this? This stuff is amazing. And suddenly now the world makes more sense. Just the American education system. I'm raising my glass in sadness to you guys right now. Taking a drink. From Roblox, I hear most Europeans are nice people, but the British are the other thing. It depends. It depends on who you meet. I met tons of really great British people for the short time that I was there, and it was very nice. And my experience, and from my experience of living in Germany and Austria, well, what I can say at least for the Germans and Austrians is this: the Austrians are really nice to your face. And if you say anything that upsets them or do anything that upsets them, they will make fun of you behind your back for as long as you live. Germans, on the other hand, will not like you to your face, but if you make a friend with a German, you will literally have a best friend for life. You have to have murdered one of their family members effectively to make a German hate you after they've become friends with you. That's just part of the culture. Germans are very polite, also kind of standoffish, but the moment you make a friend with one, they love you till the day you die. Rubens, South America can be summarized in a sentence. We could be a superpower, but causing the 782nd weekly economic crisis is funnier. Sad but true. Literally every single South American country. Don't you mean British? Yes. Roblox. As an American, I can confirm that that the Latin American courses and geography classes are botched. Yes. Rubens gets the facts that that they drank the tea. I guess is what you're trying to say. Man, where this live stream has gone, it's gone from talking about writing and anime to talking about South America, which is fantastic. Again, this is why I like being able to do live streams, because you get that back and forth, you get that instant reaction. It's a whole lot better than just sitting there and typing and then waiting for an hour or two or a couple of days sometimes on YouTube comments for the other person to say the next thing. Rubens, from a discussion about writing, we are quite the geopolitical analysts. LOL. Yes, in fact, actually, I will argue this: if you can come to understand other cultures, understand geopolitics, understand geography, and the way that changes customs, culture, languages. If you are someone who wants to either write epic fantasy or you want to write more realistic historical fiction or stuff like that, knowing those things absolutely gives you a leg up on the competition. 100%. Roblox, yes, sorry, my autocorrect is absolutely horrible. I believe that. I hate the autocorrect on my phone. I absolutely despise it. The fact that the most northern point of Brazil is closer to Canada than our most southern point is crazy. That is crazy. I did not know that fact. I mean, you could take that multiple ways. Of course, the northern point is going to be closer to Canada than the southern point. But yes, I get what you say right here. Rubens, we also steal French taxpayers' money by going to French Guiana and getting their jobs for no reason. Oh boy, yes, crossing over other jobs, or people crossing over between different countries and the likes, and what that does to the different economies. If you want to see that kind of on steroids and just how weird that gets, you go to Southeast Asia. Holy cow. The different connections between all the different nations, the cultures, who ends up in Indonesia to work, while Indonesian pirates go to raid from the Philippines, while the Philippines are ripping off the Vietnamese, who are ripping off from the Chinese, who are ripping off from the Americans and the Koreans and the Japanese are competing against each other, and somehow everyone ends up in Taiwan to work. It's My gosh, Southeast Asia is something else. Roblox is also close to Africa, I believe, and our most eastern, and Ruben's our most eastern area is closer to Africa than Accra, our most western state. This is basically why our language here is weird. We also have our own baguette. It's called French bread, a mini baguette. Fun random pastry fact. The croissant is not French. It is Austrian. And I have been to where the croissant originates from. There is a really cool castle called Hoch Ostowitz, which is in the armpit of Austria. And it has the craziest story because for instance, if you have watched Monty Python in the Search for the Holy Grail, when they launch cows, when the French launched cows at the British, the siege of Hoch Ostowitz is where that actually happened in real history. Plus, the croissant comes from Hoch Ostowitz because the bakers early in the day came on out, saw the Turks invading the surrounding towns. So they rang the bells, roused everyone. They all fled to Hoch Ostowitz, which is this mountain that has been changed into a castle. It's the real life Minas Tirith. I kid you not. And it is a crazy climb. I've climbed it a couple of times. And the fact that the Turks even managed to make it up most of the mountain fighting up this castle is bonkers because the entire mountain was engineered. They carved into the mountain and re-engineered it in order to turn the mountain into a massive fortification. Where the Turks ended up losing was that they came to a cliff that's on the mountain where they could pull up where the Austrians pulled up a drawbridge. So they couldn't go any further. Had they been able to go past that cliff, because the only way is either over that cliff or you have to climb up 100 feet up a sheer cliff face to get to the next castle wall and then climb over it. And you only have about 20, 30 feet at most to maneuver to move your grappling hooks and your ladders. Like, this is where the Turks got stopped. Had they been able to get beyond the cliff, the next gate was a cave that went under the castle. So you had to go through this cave, and in the cave is a massive painting of Jesus smiling at you up on the ceiling. And then they would have locked the Turks inside the cave because they had a special gate to drop, so that way they could trap them in the cave. And then they would have poured boiling oil through the face of Jesus Christ and burnt them alive. That is Hoch Ostowitz. The Austrians beat the Turks by launching cows from the castle ramparts. The Turks left, and so in honor of defeating the Turks, the bakers baked the crescent moon, which is the croissant shape, so that way everyone could eat the Turkish flag in memoriam to the time that the Turks to the time when the Austrians beat the Turks by launching cows at them. Real story. So that long tangent right there. Roblox, tortilla is best bread. Yes, and it's thanks to the Turks, and also thanks to the fact that the Spanish and Portuguese stole Turkish recipes and brought them to America and shared it with the natives, that we got the delicious tortilla that we know today. Rubens, there is a French song that is about onions, and it says aggressively, and there will be no onions left for the Austrians. Why? I don't know. Ask the dude in World War I because he never saw an Austrian ever. Who knows? Who knows? But that's hilarious. ISO, Monty Python, The Holy Grail was a great watch. It absolutely is. I love that movie so much. Rubens, Austro-Turkish wars are literally the kids beating each other while almost bleeding to death on the canteen. Danbro literally said, "I'm eating your flag." Yep. Yeah, the Austrians and the Turks, their wars against each other are bonkers. I don't know how many of you are like really big fans of like military history. If you are, I highly recommend, if you haven't known about these YouTube channels already, History Marsh and Kings and Generals. They do a phenomenal job about a lot of these different battles and wars throughout history, and the wars between the Turks and the South Europeans and the Eastern Europeans, especially against the Austro-Hungarian Empire, is just It's insane, the back and forth. There's so many crazy stories. Let's see here. So in some cultures, the victor would burn the flags of the defeated. Nope, I'm eating it. Yep, that's the the Austrians. When the Austrians go hard, they go hard. We're gonna eat your flag, and then the French go and they steal it and make it a national bread. If Austrian smack talks, you just mentioned the Emu War. Ruins. I watch every single strategy channel. Hey, awesome. Emeriv, so if you make bread with the shape of a sun, are you eating my flag? Maybe the sunly means now that pardon the bad joke right here, but maybe the sunly puts the Great British Baking Show into a slightly different light, considering how many times they've eaten suns on their on their show. Roblox at Rubens, you must be sick, so go get some help. Oof, oof. Hey, watching strategy channels is really good. I bringing this back around to writing, it definitely helps. Like if you're someone like me who tries to write like big action set pieces where where various armies are going up against each other, it's good to know your history. It's good to look at some like strategy channels, at some actual displays of what happened in real battles and real wars, because it gives you an idea of how tactics, for instance, should be fought. So, no, he mentioned Star Wars Episode 8. Oof. So, for instance, for one of my books that I'm going to be revising this year, I wrote all these different chapters. It takes up like almost half of the book is just a massive siege of an island. So you have this island that's being besieged from 4 different sides magically. So there's all kinds of magic shenanigans going on in this, but they still need to understand the concept of like holding your flanks, understanding choke points, where are easy places for people to like land their forces, especially if they're bringing them over on the water. And it would be easy to just be all like, pew, pew, sides clash and they fight each other, hooray. But I was like, no, we're going to go real here. And so I'm like, what happens if you use early modern warfare, like the Spanish Trescio, and you combine that with magic? Which, if you don't know what the Trescio is nuts. It's basically a version of the Macedonian phalanx, which is where you have people bunch up together in a very tight group, and most people have pikes. And what the Trescio had, they didn't just simply have pikes, they would sometimes have like special halberds as well for like hacking people. So you have this cluster of spikes that would move down the battlefield. But within this cluster of spikes, since this is early modern period, you would have musketeers and arquebusiers. And so the musketeers are the guys that have the actual like muskets and the rapiers and the knives. The arquebusiers are like basically the early modern period version of a bazooka. So you have these guys with like portable cannons on their shoulders who would be marching with these guys as they're like clustered together in their Trescios, and they would charge into the enemy, and they would just be in the musketeers and the arquebusiers would be firing shot into the enemy to weaken them up. And then the pikemen would just stab and slash and hack their way through other people. And so I tried using Trescio battle formations with magic on wide open fronts. The writing got crazy. And that's one of the reasons why I really need to review this book, because it was fun writing it, but I have to see if it makes any sense. Let's see here. Catching up with the conversation here. There's more Brazilian gold outside of Brazil than in Brazil. Why? Well, we mostly gave it for no reason in 1930 because of our economic crisis, but then there's Portugal. Here's a great tactic. Send your men unarmed. If there's more men than your enemy ammo, it's GG. Stalin tactics, absolutely. That's what we call enemy at the gates. Yay, World War II. And even World War I to a certain extent. Oh my gosh. And to think that there was once a time where the Russians actually used sophisticated battle tactics. That was when they were fighting against the Swedes, and that was over 300 years ago at this point. Hand cannons were wild. Oh yes, and see that's actually one of the that's one of the reasons why when writing my Legend of the Ten Lords series, with it, like I really wanted to explore early modern period warfare, because the way that the book starts off is basically like it's a medieval setting with Renaissance fashion. And the reason for that is because once upon a time, this world was like a full-blown Renaissance dream. And in the Renaissance, you had guns. You had people experimenting with gunpowder and with all this different kinds of stuff. But, excuse me, in my story, the gods who control this world, when they started going to war, because they have such incredible magic, it basically kind of became like a nuclear standoff, where their best stuff could not be used because it would be mutually assured destruction. And so they're like, okay, then, well, in order, so they started placing these powerful magical restrictions on themselves and on each other to basically degrade themselves down to a medieval standard. So even though they basically lived in a Renaissance-ish world, they knocked their own technology back by like about 300 years. So even though people have guns, they actually can't use their guns because gunpowder magically will not ignite and combust and cause the great kaboom. So throughout the story, as different gods start getting killed, their restrictions upon the world get taken away, and so guns come back into play at the end of the third book. And so going into the fourth book now, all of these armies that are still warring, following these different gods, are all like, we have access to guns and cannons again. And so people have to like relearn how to actually like fight using guns, because it's been effectively a whole generation since anyone has used guns. So there's some fun aspects to how the story plays out from there. Here's a weird fact about the Great Northern War. Karl, the King of Sweden, could simply march to Moscow. The Russian army was so gone and no winter coming anytime soon, but he hated Poland. The poor Poles! Everyone hates the Poles. Everyone goes after the Poles. They are unfortunately the people, and they haven't even always been a nation. Sometimes the nation didn't exist. The only time that people did not routinely go after the Poles and try to kick them around was during the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. That was like a golden period of time for Eastern Europe, at least as far as the Poles are concerned. Roblox, actually a common misconception is that the Russians sent unarmed men into the Second World War. It was actually a form of German slander to degrade the Russian reputation. You know, here's the thing. I can absolutely believe that, especially if when watching World War II in real time, you learn about like how the Russians actually did. This is true. They literally would just put men into a tank, roll it out of the factory, and send it into battle. And most tank crews would not survive their very first day of battle during the battle for Moscow. The Russians were low on a lot of necessary equipment. That was something that was very real. But for instance, in the movie Enemy at the Gates, when the Russians try to retake for the first time the other side of Stalingrad, in the actual history, when the Russians came around to retake Stalingrad, they had been building up their munitions and their armor for months, so they did have enough to just bash into the Germans, keep them focused on the city, while their wings then spread out around Stalingrad and then hugged the German army there in the city, and they were then able to set it into a proper siege. So yes, there's oh man, some of the misconceptions about Germany and Russia definitely go right back to World War II. And I will say this: if you've been paying any attention to the news Ukraine right now, some of it's just like, what, we're unfortunately reliving World War II over there. Sad stuff, which is why we try to keep our nose out of modern politics here on this channel. From Rubens, yes, the Soviet army had ammo, but their equipment was extremely antiquated and poorly developed. The T-34 sucks and is overrated, and they needed a better tank, minimizing human loss and production costs. Because building an entire tank is more expensive than repairing it, which is why the T-34 was really bad for the Soviets. Yes. Yes. Oh, absolutely. Funny thing is that actually some of the tanks that the Russians really enjoyed using were not even actual Russian tanks. They were American tanks imported into Russia. And so apparently there's actually stories of the Russians, like when the Russians and the Americans met in the middle of Germany at the end of the war, there were Russian tank crews who were looking at the Shermans and they were all like, wow, we built so many tanks that even the Americans are using them. And that's because the Soviet propaganda never let on to the regular Russian soldier that a lot of the equipment that they were getting was being imported to them by the Americans, because the Americans were just cranking out so much stuff. I think that they lost because the Germans lost because their leader was a paranoid pile of degrading mental health. Yep, politics suck. Absolutely. Politics. Fantasy politics is an interesting thing to get into. I toyed around a little bit with doing a little political side story this year, since this is the year of global elections, but I will eventually do a video on Alethi politics, but I will not try to make jokes at the expense of real world politics, because that's just a recipe for disaster. Sherman tanks were only considered good because they existed. Oof. Police, I swear to God, not simping for politics. Yeah. Now, like, when it comes to tanks, my oldest nephew is obsessed with tanks. He could talk anyone's ear off for hours. He knows all the different specs of all the different kinds of tanks. It kind of goes over my head. For me, I'm just like, tank looks cool. And then I look up what little things I can to learn a little bit more about tanks, which, again, the YouTube channel World War II in Real Time has been excellent for giving like easy breakdowns of tanks that are consumable for people like me who are not engineers. Roblox, Star Wars politics episode idea. Star Wars politics would actually be very interesting. I did a few years ago a video on the fact that people were complaining about politics in Star Wars had obviously not paid attention to episode 4, where there's actually quite a bit of politics going on. But yeah, actually, that would be interesting to look at, because when George Lucas really delved into the political side of Star Wars in the prequel trilogy, he was doing that from the perspective of someone who hated the bureaucracy that comes with politics. And there's a lot of problems with bureaucracy. I mean, there's even a couple of times where it's all like the bureaucrats are just destroying everything. But it's a little bit too simple-minded. However, Palpatine's political schemes throughout the entire prequel trilogy are actually really excellent politics. And that's something I could definitely get into right there, because understanding politics, the best way to understand politics, honestly, is, I told my students this: if you want to understand politics, think of politics as a bunch of kids in a play school, like preschool or kindergarten, are set into a room together. They have a bunch of toys and go. That's politics. I even had them play this out where I would give them like certain things that they had to do, where it's like they had to have a certain toy and play with it, but then another group also had to have that toy. And so it's like, okay, well, what are you going to do? You both need the toy. Who's going to get the toy? And I mean, most people can easily see, oh, if you work together, both groups of kids gets the toy. But real world politics get messier because you have those kids, quote unquote, who don't want to play nice, who say, that's my toy. And that selfishness and sometimes short-sightedness leads to politics getting way messier than it needs to be. If kids understand the rules and can get together and play together in the toy room, everything is nice. But if kids don't like each other in the toy room, or try to steal each other's toys, or try to break the rules, boom, the toy room turns into absolute chaos. And if you've seen kindergartners throw toys at each other, or preschoolers throw toys at each other, that's how you get modern politics. Let's see here. Roblox, I have a Lego model of the Panzer 5. Oh, cool. Emeriv, lightsaber politics is best politics, aka, as Ruben says, aggressive negotiations. Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, politicking at the edge of a sword, which is what Roman politics eventually became. I mean, the Romans actually had some really intense politicking, but the moment that they suddenly realized that a sword would get things done faster than words, that's when things all started going downhill real fast. All right. So this has been fun. This has been a good laugh. It does not go where I was expecting it to, but hey, that's the joys of doing these live streams. But like as I said at the beginning, it's been a busy day for me. I want to get some writing done. I still have stuff to do tonight. But thank you so much, everyone, for being here, for chatting, for listening to me pontificate there at the beginning, but especially for taking us down this amazing little side tangent about geopolitics, culture, language, and all of that good jazz. World War II, like, yes, this is what I love. So, how often do you think of the Roman Empire? It depends on what I'm doing that day. If I'm doing something that involves ancient history, chances are I'm thinking about the Roman Empire. Otherwise, no. My life is fairly Roman Empire free. Though I do love Blue from OSP. I love his breakdowns of Roman history. He brings the snark, and I love it. From Rubens, from writing to discussing the qualities of the Model T-34 to the modern political system. and Rubens thinks about the Roman Empire every hour. Roblox thinks of the Roman Empire every time you pass a library. Hey, I understand. You know, we should actually here's something. We should also be very grateful to North African women for preserving one of the world's most ancient libraries. One of the most ancient libraries in the world comes out of, what modern day is it now? Mozambique? No, it's not Mozambique. Or is it Mozambique? Dang, I'm now suddenly forgetting. I'm forgetting my African countries suddenly. It's not just the library at Alexandria. There was a library. It was, some of the stuff was sacked from one of the Alexandrias when during the Muslim conquest. Thank you, Rubens. Yes, Mozambique is in the south. It's not in the north. So it's one of the countries in the north. Oh, it's gonna bug me, and I feel so ashamed because I just recently watched a really great documentary with Idris Elba as the narrator, looking at the history of gold, and this country was one of the countries that he went to. Oh, that's annoying me right now. But women within the imperial court got their hands on a lot of the texts that had been taken during the Muslim conquest, and they established in North Africa one of the longest standing libraries that preserved a lot of information. Maybe it was Morocco, Rubens. Maybe it was Morocco. They preserved a lot of the information that would eventually, for instance, go on into Spain during the Iberian campaigns, which brought a lot of information to backwards Europe at the time, as well as bringing a lot of information back on over to Baghdad, to Jerusalem, to Mecca. that would then be integral in building up the cosmopolitan and very advanced Muslim empires of the Middle Ages and the early modern period. It's thanks to libraries, and in part thanks to awesome North African women. So that's a cool little bit of history. So when you think of the Roman Empire, when you're walking by a library, that is awesome. But you can also think about cool women from Morocco saving ancient texts and helping to preserve them. Thank you, Rubens, for that comment right there. The city of Fez, or the city of Rabat. I need to go back. and double check on that. Again, just because I remember learning about that maybe like a year ago, and I was just like, holy dang, this is stuff that we need to talk a little bit more about. I've taken classes on like empowered women, and I'm like, why don't we talk more about these kinds of gals? Because that's epic. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for sticking around for all of this, for the fantastic conversation and everything. I've had a blast. My voice is beginning to get a little bit scratchy. It's about to go. Like I said, I got to get back to writing. Hope that you guys have a fantastic day or evening, wherever you're at. And if you're writing stories, good luck. Let us know what kinds of progress you're making on it. Because I mean, that's what we're here for, is Camille's Harem. We're here to help to help encourage other authors to be a place where other people can come and share what's going on with their stories, get feedback, get advice, voice grievances, all of that good jazz. That's what we're here for. Roblox, is such a bummer that libraries have become obsolete thanks to the internet. Kind of, not quite. My one of my sisters worked at a library just before she got married, and it's true. More people want to have digital stuff. They feel like they can just go to the internet and boom, learn everything. But libraries are still open. They're still very much there, catering towards people. There's still a lot of people who do go to libraries to try to get good information, get good insights, and all that stuff. And there is a nice community. This is one of the things that libraries are trying to do these days, is develop communities that help to bring people on in and make them feel comfortable in a good learning environment. So libraries do have their place, but yes, the internet is making it feel to many people like it's more obsolete. Rubens, the next stream is going to be about Halo 5. I don't know about that. I haven't played Halo 5. I haven't played beyond Halo 3. I miss the days of Halo LAN parties. Oh my gosh. I don't know how many of you guys did Halo LAN parties, but they were amazing. 940 where you're at, Roblox. Yeah, 840 here. From Rubens, 7.5 subs. Are we actually at that? No. According to my count right there, we're just shy. We're just shy of 7.5 subs. But hey, that's we're getting closer and closer to 10,000. That's the goal for this year. The goal is to get to 10,000. And Rubens, thank you so much for being around here. Since 4,000 subs, that was a little bit back. I mean, we got a massive boost in December, but yeah, we were kind of hovering around there, 4,000 for a little while. Ruins, I was busy playing Lego Star Wars, the complete saga with my friend. Hey, awesome. Next stream is the geopolitics of Star Wars and Halo before the game series begins. Speaking of games, and also thinking about February and how I'm going to be looking into talking about toxic relationships. I am going to try out the game Andy and Laylee's Coffin. I think that's what it's called. Oh boy, I am strapping myself in for that because I've heard that one's a wild ride. That's going to be the next game on my list. I'm still trying to beat Elden Ring. I'm at the last boss. Oh, Radigan is so hard to beat. So freaking hard to beat. Let's see here. Only 0.1% of subs are watching. yeah, that's the way that it goes. That's the way that it goes. And honestly, that's okay. For right now, we're just having fun. We're being chill. Maybe one day we'll have 100 people watching or 1,000 people watching this as we go. That'd be epic. And if it doesn't happen anytime soon, that's okay. That's okay. Uh, oh no, no, why? Not that game. Trauma hits hard. That ending. Why must you do this? I am doing this because as I said, for February, I'm looking at toxic relationships in fiction, and at least some of the spoilers I've seen for this, I'm like, yep. If I'm going to talk about toxic relationships, we're going to talk about this thing. The only thing I've heard about is that it's the incest game. Yes, that's part of it. There's a whole lot more to it, but yes, that is indeed the game. We're going to see where it goes. And then I'll have to cleanse myself playing Pal World. Keep your sanity safe from this game, dude. My sanity, the things I have seen, the things that I've taken part in. My soul is mostly dead. Never ever read, any of you, never ever read Kissing COVID or its sequel book. We did that once as a harem, and we were dying afterwards. We felt so dirty after reading that short story. It was so awful. But Rubens, Ashley is literally unfixable, and that's the thing. There's the I want to look at that kind of story and see how that's portrayed. Really, like, dive on into it, see what's going on there, and how it's communicated. Because one of the things I'm going to talk about, very briefly, just saying this, one of the things I'm going to be talking about in my opening video for February, which is going to have a look at why people are so drawn to toxic relationships in fiction, is that you have so many people who are wanting to be a part of a story that with a toxic relationship, because they have a fantasy where they can fix the horrible person. It's an odd aspect of romance. There's a lot of power fantasy romances where it's not like, oh, I accrue so much power and I become OP, but rather the power fantasy aspect of a lot of romances is that there's something about me that makes me special, that allows me to fix this person who is unfixable. Yeah, I'm going to be diving on into that. So yeah, yeah, Rubens, we were ending the stream, but the game spoke louder. Yeah, tangents. That's what happens. But yeah, so with all that being said, guys, thank you so much for being here with me for this live stream. The conversations have been a lot of fun. I did not expect it to go on for this long, but that's what happens when you're having fun. So again, if you guys have any thoughts about what you would like to see in future videos, if you're dealing with anything with your own writing and you'd like some advice or some help, go down into the comments, sound off right there. We're going to have, then that way we can have a protracted discussion even after the stream has ended. And thank you so much. This is probably the highest number of people that we've had sticking around for a stream in a while. So thank you guys so much for that. And with all of that being said, this has been Camille's Harem. This is Lars. And until the next time that we see each other, and either in a video or in a live stream, tschüss.